Hello, dear students. I am Samir Velankar and I welcome all of you to this another video of graph data structures. In the previous two videos, we saw procedure to find out depth first search and breadth first search traversal of a graph, but we did not write the algorithm. Now, having watched that videos, let us see how to write an algorithm for depth first search traversal. Now, before we actually see the algorithm, it is always a good habit, good practice of any algorithm writer to always write descriptive comments about the algorithm. Well, it is so important that before you write the algorithm, you describe what the algorithm is going to do, what is given to us, and what are we going to use, some extra variables, data structures. Within the algorithm, are we going to use anything? Like, are we going to use a stack or queue? All this description is always necessary to be given in the comment section. So let's see what is the comment here. We say that we are given a graph. Now it can be any graph, it can be directed or undirected. So in general, I have written we are given a graph of v vertices. So number of vertices are v. Note that usually we are used to say n vertices, n elements, but in the literature of graph, usually we say number of vertices are v. So number of vertices are v and e edges are there. As an example, there is a graph over here on which we are going to run the algorithm, and there are 6 vertices and some number of edges. I am not counting the edges, but e edges are there. Now, we assume that this graph, which has v vertices and e edges, is stored in the form of adjacency matrix G. You know that there are two ways to store the graph. In our first video on the graph we saw, we can store a graph by either using matrix or adjacency list. Now the algorithm that we have written is using matrix notation. As you can see straight away in this, if G is the matrix which has row and column. So coming back to the graph that which we are going to consider, now this graph will clearly be stored as in the form of an adjacency matrix, isn't it? And it will have 6 rows and 6 columns, as there are 6 vertices, and the elements will be, one is not adjacent to one as there is no edge from 1 to 1. One is adjacent to 2, so we will store 1 here, and similarly the other elements will be 0, 0, 1, 0. So the second row will be is adjacent to 1, 2 is not adjacent to 2, 2 is adjacent to 3, 4, 5, but 2 is not adjacent to 6, and so on. So the third will be 3 is not adjacent to 1, it is adjacent to 2, 3 is not adjacent to 3, yes, it is adjacent to 4, not adjacent to 5, adjacent to 6, yes. What about fourth? 4 is not adjacent to 1, 4 is adjacent to 2, 4 is adjacent to 3, not adjacent to 4 itself, 5 and 6. Two more rows. 5 is adjacent to 1, as you see, there is an edge from 5 to 1, 5 to 2, yes, 5 to 3, no, 5 to 4, there is an edge, 5 to 5, absolutely not, 5 to 6, yes. Finally, 6 to 1, no edge, 6 to 2, no edge, 6 to 3, yes, 6 to 4, yes, 6 to 5, there is an edge, 6 to 6, there is no edge. So we assume that this graph has been stored in the form of a matrix G, and our algorithm is going to use the matrix for finding adjacency. Of course, a computer algorithm cannot use the picture. The picture has been stored in the computer memory in the form of a matrix. Okay. Then the algorithm uses an array named as visited, which has exactly v elements. And all the elements of visited are initialized to 0. So coming back to our work here, Coming back to the work, what we are going to do is we will be declaring an array over here. The array that we are declaring is visited array, and visited array will have exactly v elements. Now you see v in the picture is 6. 6 vertices are there. So we will declare a visited array of 6 elements and all the elements are 0. Now visited array in this algorithm will be used as a flag. What we will say is that none of the vertices are right now ticked. None of the vertices are yet visited. But whenever we visit any vertex, we will change that element of visited from 0 to 1. So let's say we visit first vertex. Then after visiting first vertex, we will change first element of visited from 0 to 1. And 1 at that place, first element will indicate that first vertex is now processed or it is already visited. So initially, surely all the elements of visited should be 0 because none of the vertices are visited. Coming back to comment section, very importantly, the algorithm is invoked or called from main procedure or main program as DFS. This is so important, isn't it? Because DFS is going to go to each vertex exactly once. Then you have to tell the reader of the algorithm that the DFS algorithm is going to start from which vertex. And we as programmers have decided that DFS will start from first vertex. So while invoking the DFS algorithm from main, we are going to pass 1. 1 is the vertex number from where DFS commences or begins. All right, so we are well equipped with everything. We know what we are up to. Now let's read the algorithm. Best of luck. This is a recursive algorithm and we always love recursion. I hope you share the same feelings as mine. Now let's start the DFS, and there is a parameter here. Parameter to DFS is k. So I will show that DFS algorithm has commenced and with k as the parameter, but you know that k is 1. Observe that k is 1 because we called the DFS as DFS1. So we want to say that DFS has begun from vertex 1. Okay, let's enter the algorithm. The statements, first two statements are quite straightforward. We print the vertex k. So we will be printing 1 because k is 1. And we also mark visited 1. Notice k is 1. So visited 1 will be marked as 1. So the first element of visited is no more 0. It has been changed to 1. What that means is now we are claiming that vertex 1 is ticked. It is already printed. So at the output, you already have vertex 1 printed due to print k. Okay, go back in your memory to the procedure of DFS. What we did after printing the vertex. Yes, after printing vertex 1, we will see who are the adjacent vertices of 1. Now it is so easy from the picture that adjacent vertices of 1 are 2 and 5. But hello, our computer algorithm won't use the picture. How can it use a diagram, isn't it? But our computer algorithm will use the matrix to know who are adjacent vertices of 1. Let's say in general, we are checking adjacent vertices of k. You observe that k is 1. We are at first vertex. So we are interested in knowing what are the adjacent vertices. Check the cursor please. Find the adjacent vertices of vertex k being 1 here. It is so easy to see adjacent vertices of 1. Just be in the first row because we want to know who are adjacent vertices of 1. So in the first row, see column by column. Just see all the columns. And in whichever column you have 1 stored, whichever column you have 1 stored in that row, that column numbers indicate the vertices which are adjacent. So you just see the first row. In the first row, there is a 1 in the second column and there is a 1 in the fifth column. Why did we store 1 in the second and fifth column? Because 1 and 2 were adjacent and 1 and 5 were adjacent. So it's only a matter of remaining in that kth row, k is 1, and going through all the columns one by one and seeing where is 1 hidden. As soon as you get 1, you will say that I have found adjacent vertex of k. Okay. So to find adjacent vertices of k, we start a for loop. Check the cursor place. Where I is going from 1 to v. Remember, v in our example is 6 because there are 6 vertices. So I will go from 1 to v. In simplest sense, here I is used as column number. You observe it is so easy, isn't it? G is the matrix and ki is written. So I is used as column number and k is the row. We said that we will be in the kth row, first row, and we will move on in all columns. Although my description over here is going to be very, very slow and very lengthy, but I promise that you go through every aspect of my explanation, and this is another chance for you to understand recursion in depth. Okay, so let's start this for loop. We are checking adjacent vertices of k being 1. So I'm literally writing here that for loop has begun. Check the cursor place, I is 1. With k equal to 1 and I equal to 1, check the if in the for loop. This becomes if g11. I hope you are understanding. K is 1, I is 1. So we are checking is g11 equal to 1? Absolutely not, isn't it? You know g11 in the matrix is 0. That means 1 and 1 are not adjacent. You can see that in this if, the very first condition g ki equal to 1 has become false. And has been used. This is logical and. This is the logical and operator. And you know that very first condition is false. The entire condition becomes false. So call doesn't occur. Call to DFS doesn't occur. The if is false. Obviously, we will go back to for and we will increase I. This is the for loop. So what happens is in the for, I becomes 2. Observe, in the for loop, I becomes 2. For I equal to 1, nothing happened. Now I is 2. When I is 2 here, we will check the condition again. The condition is if G 1, 2, I am doing nothing but I am replacing the values of k and I. Observe k is 1 and I is 2. So is G12 equal to 1? Yes, of course. G12, observe the matrix. G12 is 1. That indicates that 1 and 2 are adjacent. So we have found an adjacent vertex of k. The adjacent vertex of k is I, where I is 2. But that's not enough, isn't it? You know that. Finding an adjacent vertex is not enough. We know that 1 is adjacent to 2, but 2 should not be visited. We only consider those neighbors which are not visited. Go back to fundamentals of DFS which we saw in the earlier video. So there is an AND logical operator here, and then it is written that visited I should not be 1. Only then we are going to consider it. What is I, by the way? I is 2, isn't it? Visited 2, you observe visited 2 where the mouse is hovering is not equal to 1. That means we have discovered that vertex 1 and vertex 2 are adjacent and 2 is not. So hence, the if is true and we make a call to DFSI, this is a recursive call. What's the parameter we are passing, you see? When we are calling DFS, we are passing 2 to it because I is 2 now. This shows that DFSK is going to call DFSK again. Are you understanding? You see that the parameter of DFS, observe, is K. So we have called DFSK again, but importantly, K now, which was 1 earlier, because we have passed 2, that is value of I, to this DFS. And this is how recursion occurs. You can see the very first adjacent vertex of 1 was 2, and we latched on to it. We said we are going to 2 now, forgetting all other neighbors of 1. So we are in DFS2. Okay. So with k equal to 2 here in DFS2, let's enter the algorithm. We will print 2, isn't it? So 2 is printed at the output, and we will also mark second element because k is 2 now of visited as 1. So the second element of visited, which was 0, is now marked as 1. What that means is we have already visited second vertex and we have, okay, now what? We have to see neighbors of 2 and we have to take least numbered neighbor. Remember, how do you see neighbors of 2 now? It's very easy. If you want to find out who are the neighbors of 2, you will just see the second row, isn't it? Because k is 2 now. As k is 2, you are checking the neighbors of k and you will just see the second row and you will see all the columns in the second row. Just see all the columns in the second row. And wherever you have 1, in whichever column you have 1, that column number gives you the vertex which is adjacent. So who are adjacent to second vertex? It is first, then third, then fourth and fifth vertex are adjacent. I hope you are understanding. So how do you see adjacent vertices of k now, where k is 2? Start a for loop where I goes from 1 to v again. So this I is going to go through all the columns. I hope now you are understanding it in better way. I will act as column numbers and row is anyway k. We will be in the kth row, second row, and we will move on in all columns. So in this procedure, DFSK, let's make I as 1. This is interesting and this will end our discussion. You see that with I equal to 1 in this for loop, we will ask the if. Is gki equal to 1? Just substitute current k and current I. It is 2 and 1 now. So we are checking is g 2 1 equal to 1? Of course it is 1. You watch g 2 1 is 1. That means vertex 2 is adjacent to vertex 1. But are we supposed to take vertex 1? No, not at all, because 1 is visited. It will be highly dangerous if you consider vertex 1 again, because it was already visited. So you can see that in the algorithm we have written AND operator and we are inquiring, is visited 1, as I is 1 now, is visited 1 not equal to 1, but visited 1 is already 1. See the visited array. So the second condition comes to our rescue and second condition is false, isn't it? So the AND operator makes the entire condition false. So what we saw when we were seeing adjacent vertex of 2, we saw 2 and 1 are adjacent, isn't it? But 1 was already visited. So we ignored it and we will go back to for. If was false, we'll go back to for, making I equal to 2. Okay, I hope now you are understanding the meaning of if. So we can go faster now. Make I as 2 in the for loop. So what's the question you are asking? Is G ki, that is G 2 2, second row, kth row, ith column, is G 2 2 equal to 1? Not at all. So 2 is not adjacent to 2. So the if becomes false and there is no question of calling DFS2. Loop repeats making I as 3. So we say, okay, 2 and 2 are not adjacent. But is 2 and 3 adjacent? When we ask this question, we inquire second row and third column, kth row and ith column, and we see that yes, they are adjacent. So GKI is 1. And also visited I, that is visited 3, third element of visited is not 1. You observe third element is not 1. So what have you discovered is while processing vertex 2, we saw 2 and 3 are adjacent and 3 is not visited. Hence the if becomes true and we now call DFS with the parameter I, where I is 3. So DFSK now calls DFSK again with this k equal to 3. I hope you are understanding, because the parameter passed here was DFSI. So I was 3 and I got copied in k. So what happens when DFS3 starts? We print 3 and we mark 3 as visited. Okay. So third element of visited has been marked as 1, which indicates that third vertex is now visited. Now let's see the adjacent vertices of 3, where k is 3 now. So you know, to check the adjacent vertices of 3, just be in the third row, that is kth row, and visit all columns. So we will start to check the adjacent vertices of k, where k is 3. We will start a fresh loop from I going from 1 to v, I being the column numbers. So in this procedure, DFSK, where k is 3, start I with 3. What's the question you will ask? Now you are bound. Now you're used to this question, isn't it? Is third row and first column, GKI, kth row, ith column, is it 1? You can see clearly 3 is not adjacent to 1, isn't it? Therefore, third row and first column is 0. Check the matrix. So the if is false. So the for repeats, making I as 2. We will then check kth row and ith column. That is 3, 2. 3, 2 is 1, you observe. That is third vertex is adjacent to second vertex. Check the mouse. Third vertex is adjacent to second. But you of course know second is visited. And this and visited I not 1 will come to our rescue. You see that visited 2 is 1, isn't it? So not equal to 1 will be false and we will not call DFS2 again. So the loop repeats, making I as 3. So when I will be 3, we will ask, is 3 adjacent to 3? K adjacent to I? No, is the answer. So I will become 4. We will ask, is 3 adjacent to 4? Yes. Vertex 3, third row, and vertex 4, fourth column is 1. And you also see the second condition. Visited 4, fourth element of visited is not marked as 1. So we decide of calling DFS 4, isn't it? DFSI, that is DFS 4 is called. I am sure you have understood DFS algorithm by now. I'll be I'll be quite happy if you stop the video, but I'll be doubly happy if you go through the entire discussion, because this is one more chance given to us to understand recursion. Anyway, DFSI gets called DFS4. So DFSK again calls DFSK. DFS with K parameter where K is 4. What do you do when you enter DFS? You print 4 and we mark fourth vertex as visited, the first two lines. So the fourth vertex here of the visited array is being marked as 1. That means we have printed 4 and we have visited it. Now let's see adjacent vertices of K, where K is 4. So you know you will be in the fourth row, isn't it? And you will visit all columns. You will see all columns. Which column numbers under fourth row are having an entry 1? So starting a fresh loop over here in this function, we will make I equal to 1 and go to the if, check the if. We are checking fourth row first column. You can see fourth row first column in the matrix is 0. That means 4 is not adjacent to 1. Yeah, genuinely, there is no edge from 4 to 1. So no question of visiting or jumping to 1. So next, we will repeat the for loop in DFSK where K is 4 and we will make I as 2. We'll ask, is 4 and 2 adjacent? 4 and 2 are adjacent. See the picture given in the graph also. But 2 is visited, isn't it? So the second condition written after and will be false. Visited 2 not equal to 1 is false. In fact, visited 2 is 1. So for repeats, making I as 3. Is 4 and 3 adjacent? Is K and I adjacent? 4 and 3 are also adjacent, but again the same story. Although the first condition becomes true, K and I, kth row and ith column are storing 1, but ith entry in the visited is already 1, so not equal to 1 is false. So we are not going to jump to DFS3 at all. And now in the procedure DFS4 where K is 4, we will make I as 4, and obviously 4 and 4 are not adjacent. But then I will become 5, and 4 and 5, you observe fourth row fifth column is 1. So 4 is adjacent to 5. So the first condition is true. K being 4 and I being 5. 4, 5 is 1. And the second condition is also true. Visited of 5 is not 1. Hence in our visited array, we can make 5 fifth element as 1. But you see both of them are true, isn't it? So we make a decision of calling DFS 5. I hope from fourth vertex you know how we are jumping to 5. So DFSK here, the procedure DFSK is going to call DFSK again with K equal to 5. When this new procedure starts, we are going to print 5 and we are going to visit it, correct or not? But marking it as visited means putting 1 in the fifth element of visited. Check the first two lines of the algorithm. We are marking this as 1. And now we get busy checking the adjacent vertices of phi, k being phi. For checking the adjacent vertices of phi, we will be in the fifth row and we will go through all columns. So we start a fresh loop again where I goes from 1 to 6. So here in the procedure DFSK, k being phi, I start I with 1. Okay, let's ask, is k adjacent to I? Is phi adjacent to 1? Check the graph. Yes, it is. But 1 is already visited, so no use. Repeat the for loop. Is phi adjacent to 2? Yes, it is. Phi has an edge to 2. But no use. 2 is already visited. So second condition becomes false after and in the if. Now make I as 3. Is phi adjacent to 3? No. So no question about it. The first condition itself become false. Make I as 4. Is phi and 4 adjacent? Yes. But fourth vertex is visited. So no use. Is phi adjacent to phi? No, not at all. Repeat the for. Is phi adjacent to 6? Yes, phi is adjacent to 6 and 6 is not visited. So, as both conditions in the if are again true, we are going to call DFSI and I is 6. So, hence, DFSK will call DFSK where K is 6. I hope by now you have obviously understood all the aspects of DFS, but that's the way how I teach. I take it to the entirety. I don't say and so on, and the procedure continues. So have some patience and listen very carefully till the video ends. Okay, so k equal to 6 now. So what will you do? First two lines in the algorithm. You will print 6 and you will mark sixth vertex of visited as 1. Visited k is made 1. So sixth vertex is being ticked. Now let's see what are the adjacent vertices of k being 6. So start a loop where I goes from 1 to 6. Making I equal to 1 in this procedure, we will ask, is 6 and 1 adjacent? No. Is 6 and 2 adjacent? Not at all. Check the graph. 6 and 3 adjacent? Yes, but 3 is visited. So second condition becomes false. 6 and 4? Yes, 6 and 4 are adjacent, but fourth vertex is also visited. 6 and 5? Yes, 6 and 5 are adjacent, but even fifth vertex is visited. 6 and 6? Not at all. Here comes the fun part. Here comes the major part of our algorithm. Now you see, I has approached 6. Observe this. Observe the for loop. I has approached in totality to 6. And the for loop here, which I am pointing to, will now complete. The for loop ends. Are you understanding? That means I has gone from 1 to 6, but for none of the values from 1 to 6, this condition became ever true. So none of the DFS was called. That means the DFS 6, which we are talking about, is a dead end. I hope you got it. You see, the for ends completely, and if the for ends completely, the next line of the algorithm is end of the algorithm. Nothing is now pending and the algorithm ends. But which algorithm is finished? The algorithm which was running DFS 6 is over. So I am striking it out. And you all know, whenever any algorithm, recursive algorithm ends, the calling function resumes, isn't it? So we are back at DFS phi, where k was phi. Have patience, just go through this. We are back in DFS phi. Now, if I ask you what DFS phi will do when it resumes, come on, you will say, sir, it will do what it was doing last time. But what was DFS phi doing? DFS phi was inside its for loop, isn't it? So when DFS k with k equal to phi resumes, it says I will repeat my for loop. I will take next I, where I was supposed to go from 1 to 6. But you observe very importantly, I has already approached 6. How can it repeat for loop anymore now? Because I has finished counting from 1 to 6. So the for loop of DFS phi, where this procedure also comes to an end. If the for ends here, if the for comes to the completion, then algorithm ends. That means DFS phi says, hello, I don't have any neighbor pending, which can be jumped on, which can be visited. So we will be going back to the calling function, isn't it? Here comes the crux again. We are back to DFSK where k is 4. Observe. We are back to DFSK where k is 4. Then what are we going to do? We are going to jump back to the for loop because the procedure was busy in its for loop, isn't it? So the procedure DFS4 will obviously say that, look, I was in my for loop and I will now make I equal to 6. I hope you are understanding. And it will genuinely check, is 4, that is k, adjacent to I, that is 6. And you will see in the picture 4 and 6 are adjacent. So it still sincerely follows its procedure. 4 and 6 are adjacent, k and 6 are adjacent, you observe, but 6 is already visited. So the second condition written after AND comes to a fail. So DFS 6 is not. What happens after I becomes 6? You know that the for ends, the for loop here ends, and the procedure ends. That means DFS 4 also has come to an end. It resumes the calling function. The calling function is DFS 3, where k is 3. So when DFS k with k equal to 3 resumes, it will make I equal to 5. It will repeat its for and it will check, is 3 and 5 adjacent? Check the graph, 3 and 5 are not adjacent itself. Then it will repeat the for making I equal to 6. Is 3 and 6 adjacent? Yes, indeed, 3 and 6 are adjacent. But second condition written after AND, visited of 6 should not be 1 is false. Visited 6 is 1. 6 is already visited. So this for loop of I in DFS3 also comes to an end. What that means is DFS3 ends, resuming DFS2. Very well understood that DFS2 will make I equal to 4, no use. 2 and 4 are adjacent but 4 is visited. 5, 2 and 5 are adjacent but 5 is visited. 6, 2 and 6 are not adjacent itself. And the for loop again ends. I has gone entirely from 1 to 6. So DFS2 ends. And now resuming DFSK where K was 1. And this person, DFS1, will sincerely complete its for loop for 3, 4, 5, 6. Needless to say, they won't be called DFS 3, 4, 5, 6 because they were already called and they are marked as visited. So the for loop of DFS1 will also end, killing DFS1 procedure. And as you know, DFS1 was called from main and main will resume now. Look how the screen or slate is shabby. It is like that, if you go properly through the entire explanation, I bet on it that you will never forget DFS. And that's the way how you read recursive functions and you get used to what exactly DFS or recursive function is. Before I close the discussion of this video, just see just see this, that if on some other day, if I was not running this algorithm on paper, and if I just ask you, what will be the DFS output of for this graph? And I hope you have expertized DFS outputs by now. So what would you say is that we will be printing 1, isn't it? From 1, we will go to 2. So that's what we did exactly in this picture. From DFS1, observe the cursor place. From DFS1, DFS2 was called. And then you will say from 2, we will go to the least numbered vertex, which is 3. That's what exactly happened. DFS2 called DFS3. Check the stack, check the last in, first out, recursive process shown. Then from 3, you will go to 4 in your DFS procedure. From 4 to 5 and from 5 to 6. But 6 got into a dead end, isn't it? As 6 was dead end, you came back to 5. That's what exactly was shown in the diagram of recursive function explanation. I hope you have understood DFS in and out. Thank you very much.